Okay, awesome. We're back, guys, with our fifth session by the Account Aggregator companies. This time, we have NADL. So the person presenting will be Divya Mulki, who is the project manager for RoboSoft Technologies, and she'll be talking about the NADL Account Aggregator Sandbox. So everybody, please welcome Divya with the Tali emoji. Thank you. Divya, thank you for being here, and over to you.
Okay. Thanks, Arivan. Thanks, Arivan, for the warm welcome, and thanks everybody for the support that you have extended so far. I'm Divya Mulki. I'm working as a Technologies Private Limited. We are the technology partner for NADL, and I'll be representing NADL today for you in this Sahamati AA hackathon. Good evening, everybody. Shall we start? I'll share my. I think my screen is already visible to everybody. I'll start off soon. So to start off with something, this is a presentation chart, which presentation path which we'll be following going forward. So something about NADL. The NADL is NADL stands for National Asset Account. NESL Asset Limited. It's a wholly owned subsidiary, National E-Governance Services Limited, which is NESL. NESL is first in utility. Now, the promoters of NADL of the parent company also are few member names of the Indian banking and financial industries. NADL is a professionally managed, technology-driven company with the solidity of being a union government company. So this is something about the company that NADL is, who is doing the account aggregator platform. Now, what is account aggregation? Account aggregation is NADL of collecting financial information of its customers in a framework which is secure and consolidating and presenting the information to the end user or whoever requires it in a secure fashion again. Also, share. Since my esteemed speakers earlier have already spoken about FIP, FIU and its various use cases, I'll straightly go to something what we are currently offering in with the NADL AA platform. Now, with NADL, we have a account aggregator platform which we are offering in an Android app, an iOS app, as well as a web portal. These are some of the screenshots which I'm sharing so that we could just quickly go through the customer onboarding process, what we have followed, so that to make it seamless for the customer to join into the AA ecosystem. So we take some minimal data from the customer like name, date of birth, mobile number, email ID. This information is again then used so that whenever we do an asset discovery, the same information gets picked up during your asset discovery, so that it makes it easier for the user. So the customer onboarding process has some minimal details. We have the mobile number authentication through OTP. We have a KYC verification process, a simple KYC verification process. Then we create an MPIN. This is basically for a mobile app, and then we have a VUA user creation as well as a password. Now, a user VUA is considered as one of the identities of the AA platform. For any user to come into the AA ecosystem, he has to be identified through a VUA. So that is the flexibility we give to the customer, that he can select his own VUA at with the NADL as a domain. So this is a quick customer onboarding process.
Divya, your screen is not visible.
Okay. Just a minute. Is it visible now?
Not yet.
I think. Is it visible now?
Yeah, now it's visible.
Sorry for the inconvenience, everybody. So these are some of the screens which I was just talking about on the customer onboarding. And what I want to discuss is about the account discovery and the linking flow. So we have some asset types. So there is a huge list of asset types which Rabbit has sponsored. Which there is around 18 of us, but in our platform we give we have clubbed some of them, and we have given them 8 asset types. After I select the asset type, one of the asset type, I land to a screen wherein I have to select all the FIPs which are linked to that asset type. Basis once the bank is selected, the information collected during the customer onboarding process is used to fetch the bank accounts linked to that bank accounts or assets linked to that FIP whoever is selected. I can select multiple bank accounts or multiple bank also, and basis that all the accounts get, I can select which account I want to go ahead with, and I can link those assets. Linking an FIP involves an authentication process, which is an OTP sent by the FIP itself. The next flow, which I would want to discuss, consent creation flow. How do we create a consent in the so first I can select the assets which I would want to map to my consent. It could be on FIP basis or it could be basis an asset class. The next step is the all this information which I'm collecting from the user, which is what is the type of consent you want to create. If this is a one-time consent or is it a periodic consent? There are also purposes these are Revit specified purposes. Also, we have created some templates so that all these, there are a lot of information to be filled up, like in financial information, the data type, the data filter, the frequency, consent mode. Have also created templates for the user, so all of these data gets filled up. Also, if the customer wants a custom consent, he can do it easily. So once the consent is created, the next step is how do I request for a financial information. So I have a request option. I also have a pause and a revoke option. So what my earlier speakers have also spoken about, the main crux or the core approach what we are following in the AA ecosystem. The customer is the king. He can decide what he wants, whether he wants to give a consent, whether he wants to pause a consent, whether he wants to permanently terminate the consent. So all in the customer's hand, and this app helps the customer doing these activities seamlessly. So once I'm giving a
Hello.
the customer can request
Hello.
for a report.
Yeah, sorry, Divya,
Yeah,
sorry to disturb. If it's okay
yeah.
with you, maybe I can share the screen, and so because when you are not sharing the screen, your voice seem to be better. So I can share the screen, and you can tell.
Oh,
Is that does
okay, sure. The shops.
Divya, can you try speaking? You can see the screen, right? The Jawad is sharing.
No, I'm not able to see the screen which Jawad is sharing.
Okay. Maybe just try refreshing because I think everybody can see the screen right now. If you just try refreshing, maybe it'll help. So, guys, while we're waiting, you know what we can do, right?
Yeah.
An emoji.
So yeah, so you can move ahead. We did the screen. So this is the screen. This is the screen wherein we are giving a request for the financial information, basically the data what we are requesting for. Can you go to the next screen, Jawad? So this is the financial information fetch. Like how do I how do I fetch the data what I'm requested for? So basically, when I'm requesting for a data, I get a push notification on the app that FI data has been requested on so and so date and so time. And once the data is ready by the FIP, I get a notification back from the app itself that the FI requested data is ready. Once I click, I can. We also have a report section in our app wherein I have options like ready, pending, and viewed. So what have been I have sent a request to an FIP. It is available under pending. Once it becomes ready, it comes under ready tab, and once I have viewed the FI data, it comes under a viewed tab. So this is a sample of the report that we share it with the customer or the end user. So this is a crux of how the journeys are followed in our app, basically. Yeah, can we go to the next screen? Okay, so this was in brief about how what is that we are doing in the AA platform, what services are we offering to the customer. We offer the same services to the FIU also through API calls. Now the sandbox details for some of the API calls. We have the base URL which we have shared with Sahamati and also with all the FIPs and FIUs which we have integrated with. The prerequisites are that the IP has to be whitelisted and the port has to be opened. So that's the only uh, prerequisites for getting connection into our app. The others you can always coordinate. We have also shared the FAQs for regarding the details available with Samati regarding the FAQs. The contact details of my colleague is also shared. You can coordinate with him for any further details. Now, these are some of the additional prerequisites which you need to consider when we are getting into the integrations, which is the AA API key, the FIP API key, and the client API key. Since we are following 1.1.3 version of the Revit standards, these are some of the critical key points to be basically these are mandatory for us to make a successful integration with. Okay. For authentication, we have to have the public key and private key is used for signing of the APIs. Now, the public key is shared with the AA. We generally, in our current platform, we are sharing it over an email. And the following are the steps to generate the public key. These are standard protocols which we are following to generate the public key and private key. Yeah, Javed. We have also listed some of the customer journey, if a customer journey and FIU journey, and which APIs are being used. So since these are Revit APIs, these are readily available, but it's just a list which we have created so that it becomes handy for anyone uh, getting into the A ecosystem and creating use cases for us. These are some more information about the API calls. Post consent, why is it used, and everything, more detailed information. Also, get requests to fetch a session ID, post a consent notification, post FI notification, post account link notification, and get heartbeat. The get heartbeat is one of the API to be used every time whenever you interact with any new entity, like an FIU interacts with an AA or a AA interacts with an FIU or FIP. We have to first check the heartbeat to check if it is availability or not. Yeah, can we move ahead? These are the references being used wherein we created the A app. So basically, the master direction for the technical open API specifications from Revit and the financial information schema. Yeah, Javed, you can move ahead. Our technology partners are Control-S, who is the database, data center basically, NEIL, and CDAC. That's from our side.
Awesome. Thank you, Divya, and thank you, Jawad. I didn't introduce Jawad, but Jawad is a project engineer with NADL, and he stepped in extremely well when I was not there to save the audio. So thank you very much, Jawad. And I hope you guys in the audience were able to get the audio once we change the screen sharing. So any questions for Divya and Jawad, please put them in the chat. Or sorry, not in the chat, in the questions tab. So Divya, we have a question here. Can the consent start date be future date?
Yes, the consent start date can be a future date.
Okay.
But the only so when the FI request date transaction type.
So
What usually the transaction amount filter wouldn't. I did not understand that. And transaction type.
Yeah.
Okay, what use will be the transaction amount filter? Basically, transaction amount filter is used for a type like a query, wherein the type of consent will be like query. We have filters which we can use for basically filtering the FI data what we are getting from the customer, from the FIP. So you can filter your data on the basis of amount or on the basis of transaction type, which is debit, credit, and since the query mode is not yet approved and finalized, there could be more filters coming up in future.
So I'll just take a second here to talk about the special interest topics. As you guys know, there are certain, we want you to build anything, right? So whatever is relevant to the account aggregator system, either building on the API specs from Revit or building on these sandboxes, please build whatever you like, get creative. There are certain topics which we want you to build on, which we'll give you special prizes to build on. So there are 6 of those topics. They're listed in detail in the Hack Bible, but I'll quickly run through them. One of them is relevant to the question here, which is basically query functionality. So as Divya was saying, there are different kinds of transactions you can do. There's something called view, store, query, and stream. So view is like the FIU is requesting a one-time access to view the data, but not to store it. Store is they want to store the data for some amount of time. Stream is that they want real-time data as it comes in. They want to be like, event-based notifications for data. And query is this use case wherein, I will, let's say that I want to share some information with like with a lender or with like a visa, with a consulate to get a visa to go to some country. All that, that embassy or consulate needs to know is that I have enough balance to pay for my own ticket and hotels and stuff like that, right? That I won't go there and, start freeloading on their social welfare system or something. So all they need to see is my actual balance and to see that I have money. They don't need to see the transactions that I made. So in that case, I can share my data with them using the query mode, and I can say that only share the result of the query is Ariman's average balance over the last 6 months greater than 10,000 rupees, or whatever that query could be. It could be filter the data according to only the Domino's transactions, right? So any transactions like that can be done using query. However, as Divya was saying, it hasn't been spec'd out yet. So the query language for actually making those queries has not yet been spec'd out. So it's an opportunity for you guys to actually build that and to show how that would work, right? From both the UI UX perspective for the user to the actual, as I said, the nuts and bolts of the inner workings. So it's a big opportunity. That's the first thing, query functionality. The second is data governance solutions. How can we make it possible that, let's say that you're giving data to some lender and you want that lender to delete the data after 1 week? How do you know the lender is going to delete it? One way is that there's like a legal obligation to delete it and they can be punished. Yes, that's important. That should be there. Secondly, there'll be a technical certification done when that FIU is onboarded by Sahamati, so that Sahamati is confident that that FIU will abide by consent terms. That's also important. But can there be some technical proof, or can there be something which gives the user confidence that yes, this person is using like a secure data governance solution, and I can be reasonably certain that the data is deleted and not abused out of accordance with my consent? So that's another special interest topic. The third is a virtual data room. So it possible for me to, let's say that you have two parties. One party has some code, for example, a machine learning model. The second party has some data. Now, let's say that, the idea is to run the data on the code and see what insights come out of it. But the party owning the code doesn't wish to share the code, and the party owning the data doesn't wish to share the data. Is it possible to create a secure environment in which the code can run on the data, but actually only the insights can be shared, and each party can retain privacy over their own IP? So one promising way to do this would be homomorphic encryption, but there are other ways that one could go about it. So that's another special interest topic. The fourth is accessible consent journeys. So how can we build experiences for the whole of India, not just the top, 10% or 1% or Anglophone India, right? How can we build experiences for feature phone users, for Indian language users, people who may be low literacy, those kind of things. And then the fifth, sorry, there's only five special interest topics. The fifth is user anonymization. Can it be made possible for me to share my data with, let's say, like a marketing agency or a data collection agency, and the data collection agency is able to verify that the data is coming from a source and it's accurate? However, I'm still able to withhold my personally identifying information. Is that doable? These are the five special interest topics which we'd like you guys to work on. So do check those out. Do we have any more questions for Divya and Jawad?
Can the data be requested for a future date? That is data for the next 6 months? Yes.
Super. So I think it doesn't look like we have any more questions. So thank you very much, Divya and Jawad. Really appreciate it. And thank you everybody for sitting through all of these presentations. Last round of applause, please, for our speakers. We'll be back now at 6:35. We'll come back for our final presentation of the day, a little bit ahead of schedule, but I guess we can save time so everybody can work on their projects or unwind or something. It's been a long day. And this is, by the way, the longest day of events at the hackathon. So it's important that we went into the details about these sandboxes, because those are really the bedrock of the hackathon. So this is the most grueling day, if you will. And everything else will just be like 2 to 3 hours a day, not 6 hours a day. So thank you for sitting through this. Thank you once again, Jawad and Divya. And let's meet back here, guys.
Thank you, everybody.
Thank you. So we'll be back at 6:35 with Lars Markul to talk about use cases and successes of open banking and account aggregation in the EU. Thanks, guys.